Namaskar. The Adani Saga simply refuses to go away. It seems that the Indian markets, the international investments, FIIs, DIIs, Indian investors, foreign investors, people who have invested in bonds pertaining to Adani Group, they all today question not just the viability of the entire group, but they also question whether India is a proper investment destination. Over the past 10 days, or more to say, since 24th of January, things have been on such a roller coaster ride that the Indian stock market has virtually come to a standstill. The sell-off that we all have witnessed virtually tells us that while the international market has kind of recovered, especially when you look at Nasdaq and Dow Jones, or the Japanese and the UK market, the Indian market, which was supposed to be the leading light of international finance for the next financial year, seems to be in turbulent air. So what has gone wrong? Well, a lot has gone wrong, given the fact that the Hindenburg report has questioned overvaluation, malpractices, and a lot of other accusations have been levied against Gautam Adani's group. Whether they are true or they are made up stories, because Hindenburg per se had already shorted its position, is a question which is open to judgment. The market regulators are putting two and two together. But the larger question that remains today is, are we safe? So let me now put out what has happened in the past 24 hours as to how this could be shaping this entire Adani saga. Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman addressed a press conference in Mumbai. She claimed, I quote, "Regulators are independent of the government and they are left to themselves to do what is appropriate, so the market is well regulated. An FPO, which is a follow-up public offer, fallout has no impact on perception of India. This is not the first time that an FPO has been withdrawn. And how many times has the credibility of Indian economy been at stake because of an FPO withdrawal?" She went further to say that RBI has made the statements. Prior to RBI, the concerned banks, the PSUs, have made their statements. They have already talked about the exposure within the Adani Group for keeping the market well regulated in the conditions that it is. SEBI is the authority and it has the wherewithal to keep the entire matter under the control. And lo and behold, just after the statement of the finance minister, SEBI issued a statement, which was today itself, saying that they are monitoring the entire situation, they are supervising the volatility of the market. NSE and BSE have taken care. Some stocks have seen huge amount of volatility and fluctuations. They are under extreme supervision, and the market regulators have up till now found no ill moves. So everything is fine. Apart from the SEBI statement, RBI came out with its own statement. The banking sector is resilient, it's stable, and RBI is vigilant. RBI says that it continues to monitor the stability of the Indian banks, and the PSUs are in no threat. At the same time, S&P has cut its outlook from positive to negative for two of Adani's companies, Adani Port and Adani Electricity. It is said there is a risk that investor concerns about group governance and disclosures are larger than currently factored in, and therefore we are turning two companies' outlook as negative. At the same time, SBI and Bank of Baroda, prime PSU lenders to Adani Group, have come out with a statement that they are well within the prescribed RBI limits in terms of their exposure to the Adani Group companies. SBI has a total loan exposure of 27,000 crores. Bank of Baroda has not detailed its investments or loan within the Adani Group. And then simultaneously, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Moody's and Fitch, 4 rating agencies, within past 24 hours have revised their opinion about Adani Group. Now they find Adani Group creditworthy. Yes. So with all these, the French energy major, Total, has come out with its own statement. It has a huge exposure, massive investment within the Adani Group, especially within 4 of its companies. The companies are Adani Total, where Total Energies has a 50% stake, Adani Total Gas, stake is 37.5%, Adani Green Energies, stake is 19.75%, AGEL 23, Total Energy stake is 50%. Total Energies is a French company and has said that it has invested in Adani Group under the laws of the Indian government. Internal governance and corporate governance is intact. Nothing to be worried about. So when nothing is to be worried about, why did the market crash with the Hindenburg report? Was it so corrosive? Or was the Hindenburg actually hinting at how the international market today views Adani? Why did Dow Jones take the steps that it did with respect to Adani bonds and shares? These are questions that have still been left unanswered. Now, some developments which we need to look into. In March this year, Adani Group was supposed to raise bonds worth $500 million from international market. Now you would ask me why. Well, last year in 2022, Adani Group wanted to take over ACC and Ambuja Cement, 2 cement majors, the monopoly of which now lies with Adani. They had taken a loan of $4.5 billion from 14 international banks. And the 3 lead banks are Standard Chartered Bank, Barclays PLC, and Deutsche. All these 3 lead banks up till now have not made any statement. But if rumors are to be believed, Adani Group, after the withdrawal of FPO, is now planning to shelve the raising of money out of bonds, which means the 500 million bonds to be raised by Adani from international market is going to be shelved. Is the market gossip or the sense that a lot of business leaders and observers have. So if Adani Group shelves the bonds and does not raise money from international market, how will it service the loan? Because this $500 million bond raise was part of the structure when the loan of $4.5 billion was given to Adani. This also raises question about the viability of the entire group to service the loans. Are they in the right position to service all the loans that they have taken? The Hindenburg report hinted at the fact that the Adani Conglomerate is overvalued by about 85 times. 85 times. That was before the report became public. When the report came to the public domain, the market cap of Adani Group has fallen from $218 billion to $107.5 billion, which means more than 50% of the market cap has been eroded. But still, despite such huge erosion in the market cap of Adani Group companies, some of the Adani companies still are in the market multiple times their book value. For example, Adani Power. Adani Power is 14 times its face value. Adani Transmission and Adani Green, both these companies are 56 times its face value. So, is Adani still overvalued? Yes, it is. Will it be able to leverage its overvalue? Maybe. But now it will be difficult for Adani and the group to raise loans from international market, to raise loans from public sector banks, from Indian private banks, from foreign banks, from FIIs and DIIs. The route of money raising from bonds is also quite limited. So here comes the billion-dollar question. How will they service the loans that they have? So let me first structure the entire loan process or the entire amount of debt and how it structures. The total amount of loan that Adani Group currently has is 2,20,000 crores. Now, percentage-wise, how does it accrue? 37% of the loan is bonds, which have been raised by Adani Group, both domestically and internationally. PSU bank exposure in these loans form 25%. International banks form 18% exposure out of this loan. Indian private banks have 8% exposure out of this loan pie. DIIs have a 6% exposure out of this loan pie. And PSU capex, which means stocks which have been held as mortgage by PSU, amounts to about 6%. That's the loan against the stocks given by PSUs to Adani Group. So if you go by the Bloomberg report, it is clear that the entire loan vis-a-vis the market cap prior to 24th of January was less than 4%. Absolutely viable. But now, that's the billion-dollar question. The loan now becomes slightly difficult to service because it becomes much larger than the current market valuation of the entire group. When the questions of misgovernance, nepotism, and other issues are raised, it is important to understand how does the board constitute for Adani Conglomerate. So for Adani Enterprises and for their major companies, what is the board like? The chairman of the group is Govt Adani. His younger brother, Rajesh Adani, is the managing director of the entire group. Pranav Adani, who's the son of Gautam Adani's elder brother, Vinod Adani, is also on board. So 3 direct members of Adani family. M. Narendra, he was the former chairman and managing director of Indian Overseas Bank. He's on the board. V. Subramanya, former secretary of Ministry of New and Renewable Energy. N. Nerulkar, former managing director of Tata Steel. Onkar Goswami, founder of CERG Advisory and consultant of World Bank, IMF, ADB and OECD is on board. Vijay Prakash, he is the CEO of Adani Natural Resources, he's on board. Vijay Lakshmi Joshi, she is the former foreign secretary in the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. Gautam Adani's 2 sons, Karan, he is the CEO of Adani Ports, and Jeet is the vice president group finance of the company. So this is the family structure which is involved within the entire group. Now we all know that Vinod Adani has various listed companies in Mauritius which has invested heavily in Adani Group. So yes, this needs to be investigated. I'm sure SEBI is looking into all these matters. So while the financial stability of the entire group is now in question, it is clear that Adani will not be able to undertake a lot of commitments which have already been made by the group towards infrastructural developments, road projects, ports, airports, power transmissions, and various other projects, including the hydrogen project and the green energy project, which is pet project of the Modi government. Clearly, now Mr. Gautam Adani will have to tailor himself according to the exposure that he has, and therefore structure his entire finances in such a way that the group not just remains viable, but is able to maintain its credit rating to raise loans as and when required to make the payments in time. Otherwise, it goes into a payment crisis spiral, and we have seen many companies end into NCLT. Clearly, not very good news for Mr. Adani, and also not very good news for the Indian government. This entire crisis comes at a point when the Indian government, seemingly so, presented a budget which is pro-growth, which is pro-green, which is pro-further liberalization. The government was super happy with the kind of response it got from the market and also from the business tycoons and international community. But the Adani Saga dampens the spirit so unleashed by the budget. So now the Modi government has to really tighten its bucks. The finance minister cannot just get away by saying that market regulators will do the investigation. If that was the case, then a lot of financial scams which have happened in the country wouldn't have been unearthed. Let's not forget the KP scam that wiped out the market, Harshad Mehta scam that wiped out the market, so many other scams. So the government has to not just be above board, but in public perception also be above board. A proper investigation, a transparent investigation, a detailed investigation is the need of the hour. And if the government agrees to all this, it will present a picture that the Modi government was not at all involved in any foul play, if at all any foul play is found within the Adani Group or by the Adani Group. All these allegations within the political domain can be used or exploited against the current government. And nothing sticks on a government other than charges of corruption and collusion with big business houses. The same happened with Rajiv Gandhi. The same happened during UPA government. It can happen again. A lot of ruckus was raised during the Vajpayee government pertaining to the causes of corruption and cases of corruption. Even leaders like George Fernandez had to come clean. Somebody who was always known as Mr. Clean. So even the current government needs to come clean. Unless it does so, the opposition will have a whipping leash to whip the government. And public memory, despite being too short, is not always forgiving. Let's not forget that Prime Minister Narendra Modi enjoys the highest credibility of any leader, not just within India, but internationally. But then a systematic erosion, a systematic attack on the credibility may not be very viable for the government. Let's also look at three things that have happened. One, Adani Saga, the manner in which the Bharat Jodo Yatra has been conducted, and the reception it got in Kashmir. That has raised the bar. Yes. And then, let's also not forget as to how this is the election year. 9 states, as many as 9 states are due to go to polls this year. It'll take a lot of ingenuity, a lot of insight, a lot of planning and careful utterances by the leading lights within the government to assuage the ruffled feathers of public opinion, especially that of the upper middle class, the middle class, and the foreign institutional investors. Unless that is done, there will be a dent. And I'm sure the Modi government cannot afford a dent, because the fight is not for 23, the fight is for 24, where the Lok Sabha elections are due. As of now, Modi government is almost set to repeat itself in 2024, lest such issues may become pain points.